Hello, good afternoon. So I am here as promised with Kirsty Carden. Look at me wearing earplugs. I never wear these, so I'm like trying to push them in my ear.
I noticed them sticking out as well.
There's an echo, and I get it quite a few times where people have come on and they're like, I can hear an echo in the background. So it is better. It's better to listen when you've got the earplugs in. So really excited to have you on today, and thanks for coming on.
Me too.
A lot of the women in my audiences, especially like anyone who's worked with me, knows you.
Yeah.
But I have had quite a few like new people coming into my audience recently. I've had new ads and stuff set up.
Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know Kirsty's amazing. So Kirsty is my business coach, and a very good one. I'll just hand over to you, Kirsty. You can just introduce yourself, and yeah, we'll just get cracking.
Amazing. Awesome. Where are we streaming right now? Is it to your group? Is it to LinkedIn? Is it to both?
So we're streaming to LinkedIn, my Facebook page, my group, and then it'll be downloaded and popped over onto Instagram and YouTube as well.
Oh, amazing. Cool. So hello, everyone in all the places. So yeah, my name is Kirsty Carden. I'm predominantly a business mentor for mainly female trainers and coaches, really all about online. And I'm an NLP master as well. And really what I do is I help women set up successful online businesses through using the power of our environment and our mindset, but also through the tangible acts of actually, selling and getting out there and everything as well. I've been doing that for 5.5 years. And I run Masterminds, Academy. I have workshops and digital products and things like that. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Obviously, I've just recently launched the podcast this week. I just want to share it because it's quite cool. So Transform, my new podcast with Kirsty Carden. We released it on Monday, and we're on the charts. We're ahead of Tony Robbins right now. So, it keeps moving. Like the self-help charts, it's like number 6. And I think it's around 11, 12 for the education. So and Tony Robbins is 22. So yay. Take that, Tony Robbins.
And that's such an amazing achievement, isn't it? I know you've worked so hard for this, so it's well deserved.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of work. There's a lot that goes into it, and we've released 6 episodes this week. So obviously it's a lot gearing up to actually getting it out there. So it's really, really cool, really, really exciting stuff. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and talking about, are we talking about all things transformation today? Like, what are we going to get stuck into?
Yeah, so I really think, like, especially with the new year coming up as well, just sort of setting up for success for 2022, and like, who better to come in and talk to the audience about that. So yeah, and I know like you're really about looking at like external factors as well, not just about mindset, even though you're qualified when it comes to like mindset advice and expertise, but you do focus quite a lot on other things as well, so it'd be quite cool to come in with that perspective, really.
So I'll kind of talk to you a little bit about that, and this is my view, my viewpoint, my way of doing things, and it's why I've made the podcast, because I wanted to talk about this, because what I find is that many of us become self-development junkies, and we kind of get into a place where we think it's all about us. And if we want to change, then we've got to change ourselves, and it's our mindset, and there's something wrong with us. And it can get a little bit unhealthy when we're constantly trying to change ourselves, okay? Because what I know to be true is that actual real transformation, lasting transformation, actually happens outside of ourselves. And it's really good to think of it in the sense of like when you think of children being born, babies being born into completely different families. If someone has like a really poor upbringing financially, physically, mentally, they're not shown love or encouraged, and then someone else is shown all the love in the world and they're encouraged and they've got all the finances available to them and all the opportunities. As they grow up through life, what they think is available to them and how they become and their beliefs and what they create in the world will be vastly different. But that's not down to them or their mindset. It was down to the environment. So I like to see it as, I call it environmental change. And there's like 6 different main areas, 6, 7 different main areas to this, which I talk about and I go into deep with the podcast and stuff. But it's understanding that if we can use it for, it can work against us, it can also work for us. And rather than us constantly changing ourselves, if we actually look externally and go, well, how can I change the environment that I'm in? And again, this is the people that you're around, this is your physical actual environment, this is anchors, habits. Part of it is your mindset, your physical body. Like, there's different elements to it, but it's external things. I even see something like language and the words we use. It's still an external thing. And it's much easier to change the things around us and the things we use than it is to constantly think that we're changing ourselves. Because sometimes it's like, oh my God, how do I change my beliefs? How do I change my mindset? Well, actually, if you change the actions and things you're doing, it changes your beliefs. It's a loop cycle, and it's easier to control that and to say, actually, I'm not going to hang around those people. Actually, I'm going to stop listening to, people, or even like podcasts or whatever you listen to. If you start listening to people on social media and they're ranting and they're negative all the time, it rubs off, right? And then so it's like, actually, I can not listen to that, I can shut that off, and I can be around what I want, and the things that I want, I can make sure I'm surrounded with that. So if you want to feel positive, make sure that you're in an environment of positivity. Make sure the room that you're in feels positive. Make sure that the people you surround yourself is positive, right? And that is much easier, because that will rub off and literally just change how you think, how you feel, the results you produce. So quite simply, that's how I'd explain it, is that it really is about environmental change rather than always being about us. And of course, our mindset and how we react to things is down to us too. That is part of it, but it's far easier to understand it from a point of view of actually looking at things around us and actually knowing that, think about different people right now, like the experiences everyone's having in the world at this point, right this moment, where you're born really dictates what's happening to you in the world and where you are. So you can't say that everyone's given the exact same equal start, but we can then make changes, right? We can decide to get ourselves in the right space. And that's where I talk about kind of creating success containers and things like that. So I feel like I've explained that for a while, so I'm going to give you a moment to speak then.
No, it's spot on. Like, everything you say is so spot on. Like, one of the things that I always say to people, and one of the things I do quite regularly, is like, look at, hi Shell, by the way, is look at like my office. Now I've changed my office, I've changed the room. Like, anyone who works with me like has a bit of a ongoing joke, because like I move offices, I'll move my office around. It's always like normally like the same background, but it's just my thing changes. And it does, like, that environment you're in, like having the smelly candles, like what you can smell, what you can sense, everything around you. Like, if one of the things I've said recently is that I share an office now. So there's like a sharing office. There's 4 desks in here. One of them is my daughter's for home educating. But because I can't always control like how tidy their desks are, that's something that like sometimes like gets to me a little bit. So I've started considering now, do I need to have an office on my own again? Because it really bugs me if the environment I'm in isn't like really clean and tidy. It like bugs me.
Exactly.
Shell says, I'm revamping the studio over Christmas. Love it. Hi, Lisa. So like when you're saying about like the, your environment is like, it's so true. And there's so much more, like you go into so much more depth with it, and it made me laugh as well when you mentioned the whole language thing as well, the language you're using. My clients, I made a joke with them that when I first started on your mastermind, one of the first things you did when we first met together on that first mastermind day, you banned the word can't, like from the get-go, and was like, no using the word can't, I don't want to hear it. And I love it, because something I've always said, and it's something that's been like sort of ingrained in me from a young age, was my nan would always say like, there's no such word as can't. So like if I was struggling to do my shoelace up, she'd be like, and I'd be like, I can't do it. She'd be like, no, there's no such word as can't, you just do it.
Yeah, and it's so good that you had that. That's the thing about your environment, right? Like, these things rub off. It's like no one starts off with the word I can't do it, I'm limited and all. No one starts like that. It's who you're around and what people say. So if you are around people that will often say you can't do that, they limit you, which is why like when you start a business, you need to get around other business owners, because if you're around a load of employed people, they've got an employee mindset. starting a business is risky. You don't want to do that. And it's not that they're bad people or anything. It's just that's the container they're living in. That's their perception of the world. That's true to them, but that's not going to help you if you want something different to them, is it? So it's really important. And like the word can't, that's why we ban it, because as soon as you say the word can't, it shuts you down and it limits all your possibilities. So like say, if you hear people, like that's such a great example with your nan, like saying there's no such thing as can't, because you haven't that would have like been part of your mindset and thought, like, every time you said can't, you probably heard your nan's voice in your head saying there's no such word as can't, and then you probably took a better action because of it.
Finding a way to make it work.
Exactly. It rubs off. We everything that we hear and see and feel and experience rubs off onto us. Of course we are individual, we pick up on stuff, but we're products of our environment too, and we can actually selectively choose what we want to be influenced by, which is why I really decided to create a podcast, because I was aware of that suggestion, and I waited so many years to do it because I wanted to make sure that I really knew my stuff, that when I come to give people my own interpretation of everything and how I've seen it to be true, that I was really experienced and that I saw it work time and time again, not just with myself but with all the people that I work with as well. So I wanted to make sure it was really proven, obviously, that I've got my own certifications and I've got the knowledge in it too, but that I was, because it's just so, it's such a powerful thing. And I don't think sometimes people realize the responsibility of suggestion, especially, if someone's listening to you every day and, you're plugged into their ears and they're hearing it, you're influencing how they think and feel and things like that. So I think it's quite a big responsibility. And that's why I took it really seriously creating a podcast, because I was like, well, I want to make sure that I'm giving things that are really going to just make people feel better, enhance their quality of life, help them with their business, make them think and expand that expansion, which is why I called it transform, because it's about you transforming into what you want to be in your best version, and not one criteria of success is this or that, because we always want to transform into something better, and we're always changing anyway. Change is inevitable, but transforming into what it is that you really want is different, isn't it? And realizing you can have such a huge influence on that if you're consciously constructing it through, like I say, creating your success containers and actually stepping into that, and making sure all the environmental things are connected to that. Then you can actually you can have whatever you want, but it's that conscious creation.
Definitely. It's when I first started out in the business world, especially when I first started in coaching, so not when I first got into business, but when I first got into coaching, I'd see it all the time about networking and in-person stuff. And I don't know if you can remember the things I used to say back then, because I know we've known each other for a good few years now, haven't we? And I used to be so I'm an introvert, and I used to always say, I hate in-person stuff. I don't like meeting in person. It just makes me really uncomfortable. And I'd always say it. And it's only very recently, it's since I've started to really grasp that you can, like you're saying, put yourself in these containers. You can really change your mindset around. I'm still introverted. I can't change that. But what I can change is how I look about it. Does that make sense? So now I'm seeing proven every single time I meet with like-minded people in person, the feelings I get afterwards, the motivation, that inspiration, I get a massive kick up the ass to go away and do stuff. And I can action, every time I meet, for our mastermind days, when I held my own retreat in November, that week following something like that, it takes me a day or two because I'm introverted. I need to go into a bit of a shell to have that downtime. But I'm so fired up to do work, literally. And if I don't have that, I start to notice myself slipping down a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree. I noticed the same thing, and I was telling you guys on Friday with what we were doing that when I looked at my Stripe account, and you know where you see on the Stripe account, you have Stripe, right? Yeah, everyone's Stripe, surely. Yeah, you know where you can see like the years, or you can see the overall year. It's just like a graph, and it shows you. You see spikes of like when you've made more and then less and stuff like that. And I looked at the trends of the months that had the big spikes and all that, and it was literally following being at some type of event, being at something like that, because it was just so re-energizing. And I think the thing is, you know, with your experience, and a lot of people will say I'm introverted, so I don't, you know, I'm not great with events, I'm not great with this and that, but it could just be that they weren't the right kinds of people you're around, or the right kinds of events. So if you're around the right kinds of people, then you're going to be re-energized and feel great. If maybe it was an event and it wasn't quite the right people or the right content, or you didn't like the way things were done, you didn't like the atmosphere, sometimes it can just be like the room you're in. You know, I know if I was to spend 3 days, like I make sure all my events are in like nice big high ceiling chandelier, big windows, like natural light, like rooms, because I like that expansion, you know, like natural light. Like I need that. I think as humans we need that. But I've gone to events where they're pokey rooms. I was at one, as with Sonia, actually, I'll be careful what I say, but if she comes in here she'll relate. We were actually at an event, and the room was small, and there were 60 people in it, and we didn't even have a table, and we were all sat on chairs. And the wallpaper, oh my God, the stage was all falling apart. And this was like someone who's a very successful entrepreneur. And the room was just pokey. There was no windows. And it just wasn't nice. I was getting really achy. It wasn't like, you know, still made the most of the event because the content and everything was good. And there were great people there. So still could, but that would have been a phenomenal event if just like that one area of the environment, like the room had more space. If there was a table that I could put a drink down on, like those tiny little things would have made a difference. If there was a window where there was some natural light, because 3 days going on and on and on and no natural light, it kind of makes you tired and stuff, doesn't it? So it's just those things. So again, you are a product of your environment. If you weren't in the right kind, with the right kinds of people, in the right kinds of, you know, environments, then actually you could feel like, oh, I'm an introvert, I don't like that. But actually it's just they weren't the right people probably to bring that out of you, you know? So
definitely. It's funny because like I've been on loads of different masterminds, and I've always like made some really deep connections with like a handful of people on these things, or when I've gone to like events and stuff like that, there's always been people that I've connected with really deeply, and I'm still like in close contact with them now. But on like a larger level, I've not ever been on like a mastermind or hang out in circles where I'm like really just filling it with people who are my kind of people. And I think it's only this year I've really grasped that again. And it like dips into like the whole external, you know, container type of thing, because it's like, I think it's taken me till now to realize the kind of people who are my kind of people, and to just like remove anyone who's not. And like this year, I've had a huge cull, like with my Facebook, my, you know, the people who I'm seeing on my streams. And now, like, I don't even think twice. Like, if I'm scrolling and I see something that I just don't like, just don't get a nice feeling from reading it, and no matter what it is, I just remove. And I just get rid of them straight away. Like, and
that's such a good thing to do. Yeah, it's such a good thing to do. And that's just such a, like, for everyone watching this like live stream, like as a practical thing, when you're thinking about what you want for the new year and who you want to become and the goals you want to achieve, like, if just that one area, and it's every area you can do this with, but that one area of like your social media, right? Like, and the people that you see and you're connected with on there. If you like literally notice, how do I feel when I see that person, or how do I feel when I see this content? Am I like subscribed to too many things? It's overwhelming. Am I in loads of groups that I don't even interact with? And you start just removing them. Actually, I don't like that person's energy. I used to like them, but I don't like their energy anymore. They annoy me, or this or that, or whatever it is, right? Like this account share, like overshares, or this, whatever it is, you know, like you can just, anything that doesn't feel good or doesn't feel aligned to what you want, you can remove it. And equally, you want to, like, you know, and this is the problem, okay, is that what a lot of people do is we don't remove things, we just keep adding things. And what happens, you know, if something gets added to, it overflows, okay? And if a container is too full, and if you put too much in something, you can't do anything, right? It overflows and you can't focus on anything. So it's like realizing, and I've created this rule a little while ago, is that every time I buy something new, I have to get rid of something old. Because if you don't, you end up in a cluttered house, don't you? And the same happens with your mindset. The same happens with social media. If you keep following more and more and more and more and more, and then it just gets overwhelming. You never see anyone's stuff because the algorithm plays around. And the problem is that people often, we sometimes interact with, or we stay on, or we look at things that we don't like because the mind has a negative bias. So sometimes like we go, oh, what is that person doing? Oh, I'm gonna have to watch that, right? Like, and then the social media platform is like, oh, you like this? We'll show you more of that. And then you end up seeing
rabbit hole.
And then you end up seeing more stuff you don't want to see, and you don't see those accounts that actually you want to. They get kind of pushed away because they weren't interacted as much, or you interacted with these, so it shows that less. So you've got to be aware of that, because we do, and we all do it. We'll start looking at stuff, or you'll see someone's body and you compare yourself, start looking at it, and then it shows you more of that, and it just makes you feel crap about yourself. So we don't want to be in that state. If we don't want to be in that state, so again, it's like, if I'm gonna, do a little bit of a cull, have a look at like, okay, because there'll be people that actually you want to be following that you probably don't see their stuff anymore. Like, so actually try and actually look at some of the groups, or you're in, or podcasts you're following, or Instagram accounts you're following, and actually see, and quite simply, like, if I want to start seeing people's stuff again on Instagram, and I'll look, and there will be people that I followed like when I first got Instagram, I never see their stuff anymore because of the algorithms. And then sometimes I look through and I go, oh my God, that's such a good account. Like, it could be something random, like pictures of London, like really nice scenery or flowers, and I'm like, actually, that makes me feel good seeing that. But it doesn't show me, because I've interacted with so much business stuff or self-development stuff. But I want to see that. I want that to kind of be put into because it makes me feel nice, and I like seeing that. So I just have to go in and interact with stuff again, and I'll start seeing it,
And then you start seeing it again.
Or unfollowing and following again, because normally when it's a new follower, it shows it more. So anything like that.
Oh, that's a good tip, actually. I never
just unfollow, follow again. Yeah, and it tends to then just start showing you, interact with a few things, like a few things, and it will
gives it a bit of a refresher.
Yeah, so it's cultivating what you see every day, I recently like, giving another example, is it all right if I kind of just go into success containers now, like quite naturally?
Absolutely.
So just giving you a recent example of something personal, and if any of you follow me on Instagram, for example, on social media, you might have seen, like, I had I recently like lost some weight. It was something that, since I became an entrepreneur, am I there? Okay, cool.
I lost
go
you
for
then.
You then. I just went for me.
Yeah.
Is it working? You're frozen for me, Beth.
Yeah, I think your screen is frozen. I can still hear you, but it's frozen.
I don't know if am I frozen? Am I back?
Oh, you're back.
Am I back now?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, you froze. Yeah, it all froze, and then okay, cool. Yeah, so like I was saying, So when basically I wanted to, so since I became an entrepreneur, I slowly started putting on weight, like tiny little bits. And I was really, like, over the last 5.5 years, really trying to control it. I tried so many different things. Like, I worked with nutritionists, people with my mindset. I've done so much fasting, to the point that before I did this program that I decided to join, I was fasting so much. Like, I was never eating till 2 p.m. every day, and I do 48-hour fast, and I still wasn't really, I was managing to maintain my weight, but I wasn't losing it. It was getting really frustrating. But I found this program, and this is an example of like a success, like a container for success, and I'll go into it a little bit more in a minute. But this is something that I used to do this. So, like, when this program came about, and I was looking for a group program for this for so long, because I know the energy of groups and accountability. So when I signed up for this program, I didn't know the how at all. I just was like, this is my container. I'm doing this. I'm committed. So I publicly told everyone about it. Okay. So that accountability of that public announcement to keep me accountable for it. I committed to doing it. I obviously paid and invested in the program. I had to like submit pictures every week. I had to follow a plan. And it worked, basically. It worked, and it was amazing. And I'm doing it again in January to continue, because when something works, stick with it. So, but I got that. And one of the physical things that I had is every day, like, to put a picture of like how you want to look and how you want to feel on your phone. And the guy who runs this program is huge. It was like 2,000 people doing it, but you're all in tiny groups. So it doesn't feel like that. You're all in groups of 100 every time they bring people in. But he doesn't even want you to weigh yourself, because he's like, you're focusing on what you don't want. You're focusing on losing weight all the time. So don't weigh yourself. Don't look at the scales. It doesn't matter what you weigh. It's how you feel and how you look. So it's pictures and how you're feeling. But yeah, having that picture on my phone every day of what I want, like, it's all these subliminal things that kind of come in, but it's creating that container and that thing of accountability. I also had a friend doing it with me, and we were like messaging each other. So it's that layered thing of like actually making sure you do it. And the problem is that many of us say, you know, I'll do it when this happens, or when the timing's right, or you know what I mean? We do, don't we?
That's exactly what I said to you Friday, wasn't it? I was like, I'll do it like next year after I've launched.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Whenever you say that, like that time never comes anyway. So it's never good to say, I'll do it next year, because then the next year becomes the next year, becomes the next year. So it's almost like when you're committed and you really want something, you've got to think, okay, so how can I create the container to make me do it? So it's like, well, who do I need to be around? What do I need to do? How can I create that accountability? How can I commit before I'm ready? And like, you know, putting your money where your mouth is. When you're committed energetically, financially, your time, all of those things, they layer up, and then you have to step in and do it. It's how I started my business. You know, I didn't have the money. I committed before I was ready. The money came in, right? Like, it's how I've up-leveled my business. It's how I've lost weight. It's how literally everything, even like when I you know, when I broke away, and the reason I do this is because I came from an environment that I was very different from. Like from a young age, I was very different. Like my parents are the opposite to me. Like they have mental health issues, and they're, you know, I'm one of 5 children. I grew up in council housing. They're all obese, so they're very poor. Like there's a lot going on there that I was just like, I don't want this for myself, right? So when I was 16, I found a college that had halls that did the A levels I wanted to do, like sociology and communication psychology and media, on things I wanted to do. But my parents couldn't afford for me to stay in halls, right? So I was just like, oh my God, how is this going to happen? But that intention was so strong that I was like, it's got to happen. How's it going to happen? And then just like that, I got sponsored to stay in those halls. And so I got the sponsorship, which those 2 years, they changed my life. Like even like to the point, like, you know, I felt intelligent. I was like nurtured by my actual well, they weren't mentors, teachers, we call them there, but they're mentors, right? My teachers then. So I got A grade A levels. It got discovered that I was dyslexic, which I never knew till then, because no one was around to acknowledge that. No one gave me enough attention to really know that, right? The people and the environment that I was in, it got me to where I am now. Even like friendships that I have now, Laura from the Mastermind, like funny enough. So it was that container, but it started with an intention, and then you follow through. So then once you're in that environment, right, I've been sponsored, I've got to do the work, I'm staying here, so I got those A grade levels, you know, let's use university, and it's this whole thing that keeps spiraling. But you don't always know the how, but if you've got a big enough why, like if you're committed to it and you've got a why, then you think, okay, how can I get around people that are already doing it? How can I get in that environment? And there's all these different factors to your environment, and definitely listen to the first podcast, because I go through each step of those on what they are, but we'll be talking about them all kind of here anyway. But it's doing that, and then it will come. You know, if you wait on the line, like, and you're just like, well, I'll do it when this happens, when you know, suddenly time comes in, suddenly money comes in. Like, it doesn't happen. You actually, once you get into that space, that's when you then access a different part of your brain, a different part of knowledge from all the people around you to actually make it happen, you know. And you'll know this from, like, you know, when you join the Mastermind, like,
I know.
Like your first month, like, you know, you manifested a big chunk, like you created a program that you never had before, like you never had that, like, you know.
Everything was doubled as well after that first month, because I remember having this conversation with Laura and with you, and I was like, I'd taken on a social media person, I'd taken on a new funnels manager, and I'd like invested so heavily. I had like no buffer, I had no like room to play with. I just did not have the funds there, and I was like, Kirsty, I don't know how I'm going to get this money together to pay for the mastermind. I need to be on it, but I just don't know how. And I was so close to like missing that opportunity again. And I remember speaking to Laura, and Laura was like, well, I'm just going to pay monthly and see, like make it up as I go. And it just kind of sparked something in me. And it was like, do you know what? This is something, like, every time I've seen myself go to that next level, it's because it's like you say, you've got to like put yourself in that. And when you like kind of have changed that attitude to, I'm doing this, it needs to happen. Like, you find a way, like you get so resourceful. And that's what I did. Like, I stepped into this, and compared September to October, like nearly all my avenues of income almost doubled, like not just the coaching business, the other ones as well. There was a huge like spike, nearly doubled all these streams. And that was because of the intention. It was like,
exactly.
You know,
and you got in that container, like you got into that container, and the whole point you're getting in that to expand. Like that's the whole point. You're getting into that container to expand into something else. Like I've seen this over so many years. I've ran the Mastermind, for example, for over 4 years. No one has ever defaulted on any payment plans ever. So I've got enough confidence in knowing that like I'm going to give you everything to make sure. And obviously I've got that belief because I've seen it. So there's not part of me that goes, no, you're not. I'm like, but I tell you, I'm like, look, if you join this program and you don't show up and you don't come to the calls and you don't come to the Mastermind day, then you might not get any results. But if you show up, like, I'm literally going to give you everything. And I know that straight away in your mindset, even before I even do anything or we start a Mastermind day, there's already a switch in your brain that changes because you're now stepping into that version of yourself. You're now saying, I want this. I'm committed to this. And it's like you access different parts of your mind and stuff too, because you've actually gone and said yes and done it. And then obviously you've got all the how and the people and the support and the motivation. And you know, when you're seeing other people in a mastermind go, Pop, look, I've just had this amazing epiphany, then this has happened. Like it literally rubs off on you, doesn't it? Because this is the product of our environment. So when we start seeing it, then our possibilities just leap out even more so. Whereas when we're on our own and we're trying to figure it out, we're on our laptop, we haven't got these people around us, we can get isolated, we can go, oh, they're doing better than us, and we're only seeing people show real, and we're seeing, you know what I mean? And then we can get into our head. Yeah, exactly. So this is why it's such a big, and I know it for myself. I know with my own mentorship, when I like invested in my last mentor in one chunk, and that was like 30K in one chunk, like 2 years ago. I've done other payment plans and stuff, but when I did it in a chunk for the year, and I remember like literally straight away, and that was a lot, like to pay in one chunk. I was like, oh my God. And like when I did that, that was literally the next month and the next month and the next month, I made that back month after month, like that amount and more. Every single month for the next 3 months, I made that, and that was the quickest I'd ever made that amount in that time frame. And it repeated, and I was like, oh my God! But it was because I was open up to it. I wouldn't, if I hadn't paid that money, I wouldn't have been in that like that place of resourcefulness and access it, because when you do it, you are congruent with it, but you've also created a thing. So if I get stuck, I've got a mentor to ask, questions to. I've got all of that, and the support around me as well. But it is as well as the environment, there is something you access in yourself that you do. It's a bit just like your accountability, saying not that I said I'm going to lose weight, but I publicly told people I'm going on this program, the Six Pack Revolution. So if I'm meeting up with you or anything in the next few months, the next 75 days to be precise, I won't be eating probably like normal. I'll eat with you, but I won't be drinking or eating, to publicly declare it. Do you know what I mean? Because if I do that, then people expect that of me. And then also in my mind, I've got to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's like that.
And come to think about it, every time we were like meeting for lunch and things, you were like, oh, I'm gutted, I'm not going to be able to do this, but it's not much longer. So you were, I remember you doing that actually.
Yeah. I'll bring have to bring like Tupperware, Tupperware and stuff like that. Because the problem is, if you don't say it, people will go, oh, it's only a one-off, isn't it? It's only a one-off. It's a one-off meal. You're sticking to it all the time. Or you can say that to yourself. You can go, oh, it's a one-off. But I had so many events planned, and I was, away a lot in October, that I couldn't afford to be doing it as a one-off. That would be like, probably 25 days of one-offs. Like that isn't going to help me on a 75-day program. So again, even that, just even being in that program, right? Like someone who loves tea and coffee, like the last 2 weeks we couldn't have any. We had to reduce our amount anyway throughout the whole program. Things like that. Like I would always I'd have more chocolate and stuff, and be just like those things that you say, I can't be without tea or coffee. I can't be without chocolate. I can't. You think that you can't be without that stuff, or that it's going to be really hard. But then when you do it and you get into again that vortex, that environment, you can do it. And you then and again, it doesn't just help the thing that you're trying to achieve. It helps, it taps on multiple areas. And yesterday's podcast actually literally is all about that. It's about goal setting, and about like why it doesn't matter if you don't achieve your 2021 goals, and what actually does, because we can get really like tied into hitting the certain goal by a certain day and how we do it. But actually we achieve so many things along the way to pursuing that are normally worth more than the goal itself. So using the example of like the weight loss stuff, the thing, and if you watch my Instagram, I did like literally on the morning that we had to do the last pictures, like 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago now, on a Saturday, I literally did a live. I just went on live and I was crying, and I just kind of said this too, because like for me, the what I got from that program was the fact that shit, I can do it. It works, because I've been trying everything. And I was getting so frustrated. Like, why is the weight not coming off? What is going on? Like, I was calorie counting. I was getting like, it was just really to the point of frustration. And then this thing, and the way they teach you how to eat, and you eat more. That's the thing. I ate more food than I normally eat. And I was losing weight. And then that thing of like, oh my God, I don't have to starve myself. Oh my God, I can lose weight. My body isn't letting me lose weight. And, you know, like that, and having the tools now that I can do that with. And then it's an option if I want to continue in the program. I've chosen to, because I just think if you're in the place and it's working, why not? Like Jane, my son,
continue.
Like,
yeah.
Jane was like, why are you doing it again? You've got everything. He's like, you've got all the recipes. You know what to do. Why are you doing it again? Like, what's the point of paying for it? Do it again. I was like, because Jane, it's not just about that. It's about the accountability. It's being in the vortex. It's saying like, if I say I want to, you know, hit a certain weight, or I want to get to a certain, you know, physique, or like feeling, it's a feeling more than anything, then I've got to go, okay, well, how am I actually actively making sure that I'm doing that, and being in those environments. And that's, I really like the structure. I like the fact that, you know, if you're having to submit a picture every week, it's keeping you accountable for it. You know, you're less likely to go off the diet if you know you will keep sending people pictures of you your top off every week, you know. But you know, like that. And then it's just like the motivation, the people, you know, like it's like, well, why wouldn't I? Like, yes, I have all the stuff, but I'm not in the vortex if I
and like, funny enough, I did a post about this. It might have been yesterday, I can't remember, but I said on that, like, it's not just about learning, like it's about if you want to achieve something, no matter what that goal is, whether it's business, whether it's something in life, whether it's like weight, whatever that is, it's learning like how to make that happen, but then getting the accountability as well to keep it going, because that's like with anything, isn't it? And like it's so important, because you could know all the things, you could know all the steps, but if you don't take them, it's not going to happen. So like that makes total sense, and that concept like applies to anything. That's why masterminds are so good. Like you can go through all the group programs you want, you can learn all the things and know everything. You could be like the most clued up person, but if you're not actually implementing all that stuff you learn, what like you kind of just sitting on that. What's the point? So like that's why masterminds are so powerful. For that.
That's why I love them, and that's why I've been doing them. They've been like a proper constant for me in my business for so many years, because I do obviously little things off of those, like a mastermind day, so people get that experience, or I have the 3-day business transformation workshop, because again, when people are in a room and they do something for 3 days, like they realize, oh my God, like what's actually possible for them, and how, because they're implementing. And that's the problem, is we can get tied up in this world of like online courses and things like that, and not always completing things, or learning, but not actioning. And there's a massive difference between like knowing something, on the camera here, knowing something and actually doing it, right? There's a big difference, a big divide between those two things. So it's like, well, how do I kind of align that to make sure that, you know, what I'm saying I'm going to do, I'm actually going to do it, which is where creating these like containers for success, being in masterminds, being in the right environments of people, like the layered effect of all these different things, you know, like you probably see it with a mastermind of like meeting up, and then you do have the training, but then you have the one-on-one sessions, and then you have the account, like we do action taking sessions, and it's like all the layer and all these things. It kind of makes you accountable to keep doing it and showing up. You don't want to keep coming every month and going, I didn't do any of the stuff I said last month, I didn't achieve any. Like, you don't want to do that. Like, you want to be in that thing, and everyone else is doing it, and you don't want to let the side down. So there's that whole thing of like team, you know, but your energy is just different when you're around people that have got good energy. You shift and you get more motivated and you get more inspired. Whereas again, if you're on your own, you may not get those feelings, because we rub off on each other, you know. I think it's that power. Like, we've got to remember that we are tribal. You know, at the root of who we are, we're tribal. We're made to be in communities. The only way as a human species we've survived for, you know, so long, and we've evolved to where we are, is because of our sense of being a tribe and helping and looking out for each other. And, you know, that's right from day dot, right? Looking after each other's like babies, and like we've always done that. And that's where we've got to now. And sometimes I think with the world that we're in now, with social media, it can create that disconnect. With lockdowns, that doesn't help, does it? Like where we feel separated, but actually we're always at our best when we're connected, when we're connected to others. So it's that whole thing of like, when we can go back to that, we're going to feel better. It's like, you know, my podcast today, I can keep relating to it because it's all stuff I'm talking about, but I did one called I'm Having a Bad Day, because I was literally, I think I told you guys, I was having the day where the bloody wax went everywhere and stuff, and I literally went and just did like an impromptu podcast about that, about having, you know, a bad, now I'm trying to remember what I was about to say about it, but about having a bad day. What was I going to say? Oh my God, my head's just gone off on a tangent. What was I going to say about that? What did I say just before? Let me try and get my head, because I was like thinking about the wax. I was like, oh yeah, that was not great. Oh yeah, and then I mentioned that, like, but once you air it and you talk about it with someone else, and the moment I got into the mastermind call with us, we did an action session and just told you guys, I felt a bit better. And then the moment I then went and just did a podcast and spoke about it, it was like I took it out of my body into that, and then I made it something constructive, that could then help someone else. Because then it's like, okay, what's the lessons from when you have bad days? How can you turn them around? And what are the different things? And for me, actually speaking out loud or connecting with someone, and that instantly makes me feel better, because I'm not I'm then connected. You know, I'm not like isolated, I'm connected. And I do think it's like taking it out of your body, and like it's like, you know, I say verbal diarrhea. It's literally you're taking out of yourself rather than it being in. So all those things, I think.
Really, and that's something like I definitely got into the habit of doing as well. Like everything, I'm getting so. I used to be years ago such a closed person. Like I was very, very much like wouldn't speak what I was thinking. My like, especially if it came to feelings. Whereas now I'm really tapping into that, and I'm learning like the more open I am, the more like I use Lee as a massive support. Like, you know, I journal things, I try and figure things out in my head, and then I go and speak to Lee and like get it off my chest, and then I go into like my, you know, my communities, my academy community, and I like get it off my chest in there.
Exactly.
And speak to you guys, and it makes a huge difference, because it's like figuring out what's bothering you, or what's like on your mind, or what the reasons are you procrastinating or not doing the things you know that you really need to do or want to do. It's like once you figure that out in your head and get it out, it's like shifting it off your chest. And once you've done that, you can just move on and get it done, can't you? It's so powerful.
Exactly. Oh, you've frozen a bit there, Beth.
Am I okay? Is it?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, you're back. Just briefly.
So just because we've been now about 45 minutes, so just to start wrapping things up, what would you say, like as a bit of a summary for anyone who, you know, what's the main key focuses? What would you tell people to focus on to ensure that they are changing, not just changing, but like really transforming themselves for like a better year next year?
So I think the first thing is to reassess and look at what it is that you said that you want, and make sure it is what you really want. Because sometimes like we end up following something that isn't aligned to us anymore, or we think we should have, and things like that. So really make sure that it is something that you really, really want to have. Because the worst thing that can happen is that every time we say we're going to do something and we don't do it, we break confidence with ourselves, okay? And that's the worst person we can do it with, because we start, our unconscious then expects us just to fail or to not do it, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, okay? So you set yourself up for success, for failure. And again, other people, it's like, if you know there's that person that always says they're going to start a business, or they're going to lose weight, or they're going to do this or that, whatever it is they say, but then they never end up doing it, and you kind of go, yeah, you know, that's Jack, he always says he's going to do that, right? Like a bit like Only Fools and Horses, right, where he's like, I'm going to be a millionaire, going to be a millionaire. So it's like, you know, that it's people then just expect that you're not going to. So you want to, again, for the trust with your audience, with your relationships, people around you, and then also for yourself, you just want to start then voice things that you're going to commit to. So just like it actually worked for me the moment I was sure, and I'd create that container, and I was like, right, I'm gonna lose weight, I'm gonna be on this journey, I'm gonna do this thing. And I literally voiced it out everywhere, okay? To be congruent with that, because no way do I want to go out there telling people something and they're not doing it, right? So be really aware of what you say and only kind of air it out when you know that's what you want, and you're ready to then commit to it, okay? So then that public declaration is really important as well, and it's testing your commitment. So it's like, how do you commit to this? So this is where you look for your success container. So, and we go deeper into this in the podcast, so you can also listen to that as well, what we're talking about a lot here. But your success container is like, this is what I want. How can I create the container to expand into that so that it happens? Okay, so that can be removing certain things, and that can be adding other elements. Okay, for example, the weight loss goal example, I want to make sure that if I'm on a weight loss, if I want to lose weight, that I remove anything in my pantry that is like gonna basically defer me and make me want to, if there's chocolate or anything that's gonna like take me off rail, right? And so I would make sure that that's not in the house and that I'm not buying that anymore, okay? That's not there. And instead, I'm filling my house with all the things I'm supposed to eat on the plan. That was so great, that whole planning thing, by the way, of like making sure, and I put something into my diary to make sure I was ordering food, right? So again, it could be, okay, what can I remove? Maybe it's people that you're following that aren't consistent with the thing that you want, whatever it is. So again, it's removing, but then it's also adding things in. So you want to create that container. So that could look like joining a mastermind. It could look like joining some type of program. It could look like having some accountability buddies. It could look like joining a gym, but it's actually that container that you can expand into, and you need to put skin in the game. You need to actually like create accountability. You need to put time. So you need to be like, I do this. For example, the weight loss goal, I did every Sunday at a certain time. I did an online food shop. I planned out all my meals for the week, because if I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't be able to stick to the diet. I was supposed to eat 6 times a day, right? So same with your business, same with any goal. You've got to put time, because if you don't put the time in, which is part of your container, right, it's not going to actually happen. So it's looking at having the time in, having that accountability, having who is already doing this, who do I need to surround myself with, and then again, it's those physical changes to your environment, making sure the temptations aren't there, making sure that things that are going to help you, maybe a vision board, I have one here, things that are actually going to do it. We had like, on my I don't know if I've mentioned this already, I said, didn't I, about having the picture on my phone. So anything like that. So you want to do that and commit before you're actually ready, because you're never going to be ready until you actually do it. Once you actually do it, you open up a part of your mind that will look for the how, because you've now said you're going to do it and you've got to follow through. Okay, if you've invested in something, for example, or told people like, I quit my job and started my business, then that I'd burnt the boats, right? I couldn't have any other way of money coming in. I had to do this, yeah? So the more committed you are to something, you're going to follow through. There's no way you're not going to do it. If you're used to, for example, making 2K a month, it's very easy for your mind to then go, okay, let's find another way to do that, because it's already used to doing that, okay? But not if you've already allowed enough revenue to do that. It's going to be harder for you, because your mind goes, well, don't really need to do it because that's coming in here, right? So you need to know yourself, because everyone's different on how much accountability you need, what things that you need to do. Because some people like quitting, like I could quit my job. That's not for everyone, right? Like I worked out my finances. I had such trust in myself. That worked for me. Okay. Some people, that's not an option. That's too much. That's actually going to put you into fear mode, and it would push you. It could be that you literally just work one day less and you spend that one extra day on your business and the day of the weekend, right? So it's different for everyone. So you've got to feel into it, but you have to do something that it's got to scare you a bit, because if it doesn't, then you're not really getting out of your comfort zone. You're not really changing. That's not transformation. If it feels really easy and it doesn't feel like it's pushing you or making you like it should be, like anxiety and excitement are the same feeling in our body, okay? So it's that same thing of being scared sometimes. It's like the adrenaline, okay? So actually don't think it's always a bad thing. Your body reacts when you're doing something different, okay? So it's not always a bad thing. You need to feel something, because if you feel nothing, then it's not really guiding you, is it? Like you're basically staying in the same place. So don't think that fear or anxiety or excitement, again, we get anxiety and excitement, we get so confused because they're the same feeling in our body. Just relabel it. I'm freaking excited, right? When your heart's racing, I'm so excited, right? Because you wouldn't want to do it. That wouldn't be in your head if it wasn't for you. You wouldn't want to be doing it if it wasn't for you, But it will always feel scary when you're about to commit to something you've never done, and that is totally and utterly normal. So I think I've given quite a few things.
I love that as well. Like, tell yourself, this is exciting to I love it. No, this has been gold. Thank you so much. Lisa says that it's been really motivational. So thank you. And everyone, if you want to learn more about this, because literally Kirsty's got so much she can say around all of this. Go and check out our podcast. The links, you can see them everywhere. They're on my personal page, on my business, in the group. So you can basically find the links to download the podcast. Download the podcast.
And
anyway, so the links are there.
So the podcast, it's called Transform with Kirsty Carden. So even if you don't want to click the link, you can type it into Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to it. So it's Transform with Kirsty Carden, and there's 4 episodes already there. This week, because it's launch week, we've got 6 episodes going out, and then normally it will just be 1 a week. But this is a great week to get involved, because when you do join, and if you listen and subscribe, if you leave a review and you share, you can be part of this big giveaway. We're doing a big giveaway this week, which again is its own container for my 3-day business transformation workshop, and it's an accredited CPD accredited workshop as well. And again, don't look at a competition and think, oh, there's no chance I'm going to win that, because this is a very niche competition. Okay, most of the people that have been sharing this already are going to that. So
I'm going.
And they're already part of that. Yeah, exactly. They're already going. So most people aren't going to be doing those things. Most people aren't going to go and follow and share and subscribe and review and all of that. So you've actually got you've got a high chance of actually winning this thing. This isn't a 1 in 1,000 or a million or anything. There's a high chance of doing it. So if it's something that you want to be in the game for, then do it. If you're listening to it anyway, if you're subscribing to it, why not, just leave a review, share, and then, be in the chance. And we're using hashtag Transform Podcast as well. So, so get involved in all of that. And we're announcing the winner. We're finishing it with a masterclass on Tuesday at 12 p.m. and we're announcing the winner there as well. So all of the stuff, when you join the podcast, all the details are there. And I think you've got some of them as well, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh, fabulous. Amazing. Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having me, Beth.
Thanks for watching, guys. You're welcome. See you.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.